Hello and welcome, everyone. So looking at this first slide, do these photos look familiar to you? Is anyone feeling exhausted? Maybe a lack of coordination might be happening out there, having to put out too many fires? Well, sometimes our organizations may feel like we are the Greek myth of Sisyphus pushing a boulder up a hill for eternity or constantly putting out fires. In these next few minutes, we are going to highlight the importance of effective organizational learning practices and encourage some steps to improve some problems that may arise. As we dive into organizational learning and problem solving, let's first start with our why. Why are effective organizational practices important? So we as a group summarized into 3 areas. We looked at time, your resources, and effectiveness in human resource frame. I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague, Virginia.
So the important question we want to ask is, what can we do to help our organization be better at problem solving? But before we get into that, let's begin with what problem solving is and 2 different kinds of problem solving that you might see in your workplace. It is important to recognize that there are 2 different kinds of problem solving that you'll see in an organization. Employees are problem solving on a regular basis, especially in service-oriented industries like education. However, the question is, what kind of problem solving are these employees doing? First order problem solving or second order problem solving? First order problem solving is really addressing the symptom and not the cause. It's working around the problem, but not addressing the core issue. It's quicker in the short term, but ultimately can be counterproductive because it masks larger issues and hinders communication about more pervasive problems. This is the majority of problem solving that you will see in organizations. Second order problem solving is when employees take steps to confront the underlying concerns by dedicating time and energy to find out what's causing an issue and addressing the root of it. This might look like confronting culture clashes, sharing ideas on how to prevent recurrences, improving communication practices, implementing changes, and verifying that changes have had the desired effect through data tracking. This is how real change is achieved.
Then we have to ensure that our organization improves its ability to problem solve through differentiating between errors and problems. Errors can be defined as quick fixes, and we can fix these errors through those quick fixes. But we also must address the underlying structural problems that may create more errors, and those are what we define as problems.
Next, when we consider how an organization can prepare in a dynamic way to solve problems. We're looking at 2 important ingredients here. One is a culture of safety. As Tucker and Edmondson explained, creating a psychologically safe work environment does not require managers be excessively warm and friendly, but instead that they invite others to express their concerns and model fallibility by admitting their own errors. So in other words, it's important for people to be able to ask for help and point out problems. A second element that is very important is having quote unquote complex adaptive systems. As McDaniel explains, complex adaptive systems self-organize using their web of connections to configure and reconfigure themselves independent of any hierarchical control. Organizations in which there are a large number of high-quality interactions among agents are more capable of effective self-organization that is supportive of overall systems behavior. So in other words, in order to be able to prepare for unexpected challenges, your organization has to be able to self-organize and co-evolve in response to change. There needs to be a focus on sense-making, learning, and improvisation for the group. The group needs to be relying on relationships, links of communication, and reciprocity. Instead of trying to prepare for every eventuality, which wouldn't be possible, you need to create an organization of resilient and collaborative people.
Here are some steps that leaders or organizations can take to improve problem solving. First, you definitely want to begin with inquiry. You definitely want to gather data, interview your workers and agents, and look at the history of what has been done, what has worked in the past and what has not worked in the past. These problems and solutions and errors must be identified so that a conversation can be started. Just as my colleague spoke about establishing a culture of safety, this definitely applies here as you interview workers and agents of your organization and team. Each agent has a perspective to offer, and this insight is invaluable to developing a solution. The organization as a whole must understand the why. Everyone in your ship must be rowing in the same direction, or else the organization cannot move forward in the right direction. All your workers must be supported in order to advance to the second level of problem solving. You really want to get to the root of the problem and not just address the symptoms. Be open to allocating your time, space, resources, and support for the advancement of the organization and implementation of the solution. It's important that you are also present and connected with your agents in order to have appropriate implementation and follow through, because there'll be places where it requires a different level of authority for action to actually take place. And as your agents are gathered, keep in mind of the cultural dimensions of the problem. Identify places where there may be culture clashes or language barriers as it pertains to understanding and defining the problems and solutions.
We also should be hiring more employees that look like this. Employees should be encouraged by managers to be disruptive questioners, self-aware error makers, nosy troublemakers, and noisy complainers. It's vital that managers encourage these seemingly annoying qualities in their employees, because it allows for a workplace culture that encourages dissent, disagreement, mistakes, and reflection. These qualities allow an organization to grow.